Now, you're listening to Weekend Breakfast with Darren James.
An interesting selection by our guest this morning. I can't even tell you what it is, but I'm going to ask our guest because we have a real live rabbi on. He's a gentleman I saw on the memorial service for Michael Gudinski, and I watched it live on YouTube, streamed into my home on a big screen. And the reason I was watching it was to pay tribute to Michael Gudinski and my dear friend Lee Simon, who was the MC. I was keen to see him work, and in my opinion did one of the best MC jobs ever. And Lee has not stopped going on about our guest this morning, Rabbi Menachem Wolf.
Good morning, Darren.
Did I describe that okay?
Oh, you did a marvelous job.
Did I? Menachem is the way you say it.
You've got the ch.
Yeah.
You just then clear your throat of phlegm.
Right.
That's going to be the new association of me and your morning ritual.
That's it.
So, but you can call me Menachem, Menachem. I get it all.
Many.
Yeah, well, when Telstra calls or Southeast Water calls, they go, hello. So it's Manny.
Manny or Menachem. Why did you, what were we listening to there?
That was a song called Summer, and it's a very raw, there were no instruments. It was just a raw recording from the 50s of a rabbi. His name was Rabbi Schneerson, and he was a modern-day mystic. He had a very large global vision of a better world, and the song in particular he'd taught is all about how we all crave something more in life. We all yearn for something greater.
Right.
And it's called summer, and summer means thirst. We all thirst. Like we all have, everyone listening, everyone here, we all have a soul. We all have a purpose. We all have a life. And with that life, we crave something more, and we want something more than just the mundane. And I think today, in the era of COVID, we can see like people want more than just whatever it is. We don't just want health. We want connectivity. We want interaction. We want purpose. We even want there to be meaning to the lockdown. Everyone's looking for the silver linings because we want something more than just staying alive.
Gotcha. I like it. Now, I've got to declare my cards to you. I know very little about the Jewish faith, and that's another reason I wanted to get you in to just find out more, because I'm thinking while I'm watching the service, I'm thinking, this bloke's funny. This bloke's, I want to have a beer with this bloke.
Oh, well.
Because you do drink, don't you? Rabbis drink.
Yes. And the day can start fairly early. We can already have had our first shot by 6:45 in the morning.
How does that work?
So
far I want to become Jewish.
So it's not that the job is stressful, the religion is that challenging, but we have a tradition that after a loved one passes away, on the anniversary of their passing, people will come to the synagogue and they'll do prayers, and the relatives of the loved one will sponsor a bit of food and drink to be eaten in their honour, and it gives everyone the opportunity to toast the loved one who's passed away.
Right.
And not only that, but actually to do something proactive. We eat something, we elevate the spark inside the food, and we say, whatever good comes out of this eating is not my day, but it's in honour of the one who's passed away. And so often we'll have a shot of whiskey or vodka, so we can say l'chaim, and we can say l'chaim, toast them to life.
That's from Fiddler on the
Like
Roof.
Fiddler on the Roof, yeah, l'chaim, you toast the loved one. That way they're remembered. So by 6:45 at the end of prayers, you could have had a piece of herring, a cracker, a biscuit.
Couple of shots.
And a couple of shots. There's actually a guy of Irish descent who goes to a synagogue that I sometimes go to. And he actually is not a rabbi, he's just a top bloke. There is a distinction there. And he keeps in his little locker, he has a bottle of Jameson.
Oh, yeah. The Irish whiskey.
Yeah. So he's very proud of his Irish descent. And he has been known already at like 5:30 in summer to have been cracking out the bottle and just offering anyone, in case anyone forgot their bottle at home. But it sounds like we're a bunch of drunks, but it's the one shot.
That's right.
It's not that much.
So you're at the age of sort of late 30s.
Yeah.
When did you become a rabbi?
I was ordained when I was 21, 22. It was never the plan. I never wanted to be a rabbi. I never wanted to be involved in community work. I didn't want to do anything like that.
What did you want to do?
I oscillated between archaeology, being a comedian, like anything, being rich.
So I was
going
on
to
it. You are
business.
funny. You are funny.
I wanted to just be a hedonist. Like, that's what I wanted to be. And some money was the way that would deliver that. The closest thing to community work and charity I figured would be giving charity. That's what I wanted to do because I wanted to live just a pleasurable life. And a few things around the age of 18, 19, 20 happened, and I ended up enrolling in a rabbinical school. I was conned into it by a friend who said, we'll never get in, but let's apply together so my parents will be proud. So I was like, if you can promise me we're not getting in, I'll apply.
Right, okay.
3 months later, we got a
The
letter.
boy who cried wolf a bit. Pardon the pun.
Yeah, correct. This guy cried wolf.
Yeah.
3 months later, we got an acceptance letter. I was like, you told me we wouldn't get in. He said, his South African said, don't worry, brew. It's going to be lekker, huh?
I can't believe it. We've got in.
Yeah, and I remember lying on the grass the day before the program started thinking, this is the stupidest thing I've done yet.
Right.
Anyway, a year later, I was ordained and I'd had quite a change in how I was thinking about life. So
it affected you. You thought, hang on, you started attending whatever you attend, and you thought, this is all right.
Yeah. So I'd been studying already for 3-4 years, and it was really the dean of the college who had a profound effect on me. Really changed my whole perspective of religion, really allowing me to tap a more spiritual path, and the realization that you can really be self-expressive. I'll give you an example. We were sitting in a lecture, and there was a guy sitting 9 seats down from me at the table. It was one of the key lectures that we had to attend, and he was doodling, and the rabbi giving the lecture stopped the class, and he said, Levi, because the guy's name was Levi.
Levi.
He says, Levi, what are you doing? I was like, oh, nothing. He goes, pass it up. And we're like, oh my God, we're 21. Let him doodle. And he looks at the picture and he turns to him and he looks him dead in the eye and says, Levi, I hope you never become a pulpit rabbi. And we're like, oh, here we go. This is going to be good. and the guy says, why not? He says, because it would be a waste of talent. You've got such artistic skill. You should become a comic strip writer.
Oh.
You've got the brains. You've got the message. You've got the skill. Anyway, Levi did go on to become a comic strip writer for a few years.
Did he?
Yeah, a couple of his things were published in New York Times.
Gee.
Yeah.
Where is he now? Where's Levi?
Oh, terrible. He's a pulpit rabbi in upstate New York.
He became a pulpit rabbi. Threw in the sketch pad. Yeah. How about that? So then a rabbi is similar to, a priest, a
So I used to think so. I used to think, you've got heads in every religion. You've got these communal.
Pardon my ignorance
leaders.
here, by the way. Because
Please.
as I said, I'm not sure about much of the Jewish faith at all.
Well, I think most Jewish people aren't necessarily we just live it. So
Yeah.
So I was actually in I discovered the difference between a rabbi and a priest a few years back. A member of my community was very gracious in sponsoring me to go to Melbourne Business School for a 2-week immersion program. And we were sitting around one night at dinner, and someone was commenting how their local parish had just a new priest had come, and in one of the Christian denominations, and he was like, "The guy's 25. What can a 25-year-old do that I can't do?" Anyway, he was carrying on, and I was like, "Oh my God, what am I going to say?" I was ordained when I was 22. I was already working in community work by the time I was 23, and I said, "Well, it's no different to having a young lawyer or a young doctor. At some point, you've got to begin." He goes, "No, this person connects me with God. How can he connect me with God in a way that I can?" I said, "No, don't be
Because he's too
stupid."
young, he was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, I said, "Don't be stupid. He doesn't connect you to God." So I had a quick crash course that actually, in some religions, the priest is very much a conduit between God, in inverted commas, whatever that is, and the person. In Judaism, a rabbi is no different to any other qualification. You've studied more of one subject, and you're able to teach that subject as a qualified person and help people apply the religious teachings to their lives because you've studied it.
Right.
So it's not so much a conduit between anyone. A rabbi, the Hebrew word rabbi actually means a teacher.
Oh, okay.
So it's a communal teacher of the spirituality and the religion, helping people apply it. Where people are uncertain, they can ask the question. No different to any other qualification of knowledge.
Yes. Can you? Well, I've got another question for you, but I didn't realise the time. Look at it. It's the time's
I
flying.
have no idea how are we going to schmooze for an hour? Like, we're going to need at least 3 hours.
We need at least 3. Nick McCallum and Heidi Murphy, you go home because Rabbi Menachem Wolf and I are here till midday. No,
I don't want to cross them. I
don't
listen
cross
to them at 10.
Oh, do you? No, don't
Nick
cross
will
them.
defend, because Nick defends everyone. But I just...
I love it. It's 19 past 9.
Now, I know what many of you are thinking. What the hell's the religious bloke doing on stage at this point? Well, while confession isn't exactly a big thing in the Jewish tradition, many of you would be aware that Michael had a love of wine, swearing, horse racing. Where do you think he learnt it all from? You're not sure what to believe anymore.
Oh, that was you at the tennis centre in front of 15,000 people. And that was the start of it all. And you were nervous. You didn't sound nervous.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous. I was pretty clear before I went on what I was going to say. And the producers of the night, there's this guy, Saul, like, big machas in the music industry, like, okay, you're the only guy we haven't scripted, but keep it to 2 minutes.
Right.
So I was like, 2 minutes.
You were
plus
longer
the
than
song.
2, weren't you?
Yeah, I ended up taking 10. Right. Which in the Jewish community, no one was surprised. It was like, Menachem doesn't get out of bed for less than 10 minutes. When I tell a 1 minute story, it takes an hour.
Right. Right.
So I was pretty nervous, and I thought I knew how I was going to get through my 4 points that I had clear in my head, and I walked out and I couldn't remember at all. And that was the day before. I was asking, why do all the celebrities, why do all the artists use teleprompters? Because I noticed they all had teleprompters. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if Jimmy Barnes does, but the others all had. And I was like, what, you don't know the words to your own song? And I was like, not poo-pooing, but I was like, I didn't understand it. Well, once I was out there, I completely understood.
Yeah, right. Because you couldn't remember anything once you got out there. Well, that didn't seem to be the case. But you, officiate funerals and do all that sort of thing as well?
So as a rabbi, besides the main focus of my work, which is teaching and lecturing, and I've got to focus on mental health and a more spiritual view of the world, so a lot of classes on well-being, etc. But as part of being a community rabbi, people have become connected to our organisation, and they need life cycle, deaths, marriages, these sorts of things. And I I officiate and I do those as well.
Gee, and you're involved in meditation too, aren't you?
Yes.
Now, I'm in the middle of a book by a bloke called, I think his name's Jim Quick, The Boy with the Broken Brain. And
Yes.
he was this little kid in America, and a fire truck arrived at his kindergarten or preschool, and they all ran over to the window, and a kid fell backwards, or he was on a chair trying to get a view of the fire truck, and a kid went backwards and he fell off the chair, and he knocked unconscious, and he got a brain injury from it. And his teachers throughout his preschool called him the boy with the injured brain. And he had trouble learning because of this injury, and he's become obsessed with learning and how the brain functions and what a magnificent instrument it is. And part of his philosophy, he says sleep is very important, and you've got to have the ability to switch off the machine, being the brain, and meditation is one of the things that he utilizes to have in inverted commas, a better brain. Is that a fair sort of...
That's a very good.
Is that good?
Yeah. You should. I hope you record that, because that is the promo for meditation, right there.
Is it?
Yeah. You're no longer the voice of Sunday. You're the voice of meditation.
Now, I've never tried it. I've heard of it. It's where you do try and switch off the brain, I guess.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. What's your philosophy on meditation?
So meditation's really been on the up and up in the last 10 years. There are actually over 1,000 types of meditation.
1,000?
Over 1,000. Because...
Well, where do you start? Which number do I grab out of the
right, there
collection?
you go to meditate just to overcome that number.
That's right, exactly.
So, in most recently, mindfulness has become the rage, which is, I say with respect, but it's a lab-processed form of Buddhist meditation. And
we like the Buddhists, don't we?
Oh, well, we like everyone.
Well, we do. We like everyone.
The world is only going to get better through an attitude of liking. So 100%.
Yes.
And the contribution to the world, particularly the Western world, in the last it's been a lot longer. It's been over 30 years, but it's really taken off in the last 10 years of meditation. Has only been a good thing for the world. In Judaism, meditation plays a more spiritual, religious role. It's part of the thought process and emotional processes of generating joy. So sometimes you're not in the mood of being happy, and the Jewish attitude to happiness is it's not a product of, it's something you drive. And so you use the mind to alter the way you're thinking about something. But in the classic meditation world of today, of secular meditation, it's playing a very significant role in lowering stress. We can't really turn our brain off, but it's language that we use because it's something that people understand. What we're trying to achieve is just help people reframe, calm themselves, be able to take stock of what's going on, to be able to lower the way their brain is interpreting the stimuli around them from being threatening to actually being less so, or being able to detach themselves so that they can realize that if a person doesn't have control in the situation, that they can live with that. I mean, I think during COVID, one of the biggest issues has been the lack of control that we have. We don't control COVID, we don't control the government, we don't control anything. And so 18 months on, people are still raging, and other people have come to live with it. That doesn't mean they're at peace and everything's awesome, but their mental well-being will be better than those who are still fighting COVID, fighting the government, stressing about what's happening around. So the meditation process is not an elixir, but it is something that helps to just still the mind, relax the mind, and ultimately relax the body.
How do you do it? Could you meditate while I'm talking to you? No, you couldn't.
Well, we could.
Where do you do it? What and how often? And how do you do it?
So it's a good question. There's meditation as in, like, you go to do yoga, you go to do meditation.
That's right, yeah.
But the goal of meditation is actually to be present, to practice for that 10 minutes, half hour, an hour, 3 hours, however long you do it for. That's like practice. So that you can live every moment of your life breathing and being present and enriching the moment, either through detachment or through enrichment. That's where the different religious themes come in. But so people can go to a studio, or they can sit in their bed for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. There's a lot of competition, it's like, how long do you meditate for? So I've got a bit of ADHD. I know you can't just have a bit of ADHD. So I've got ADHD. I can't sit and meditate for an hour straight.
This is you personally.
This is me personally.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can sit, and I've trained myself to be able to sit silently and breathe, and to be able to become aware of times that I'm becoming stressed or that I'm becoming anxious, and to be able to incorporate those breathing techniques. And through the spirituality, I'm able to actually infuse the moment with a whole different dimension of meaning, which allows me to embrace the moment more willingly and to see actually every moment as being good. Even if it hurts, it's still ultimately good.
So there's a philosophy, you've got to have the bad times to make the good times good, and that everything can't be a bed of roses.
Yeah.
But you believe that you're heading towards the fact that you try and make everything good that is perhaps not so good.
Yes. So the definition of good and bad, we can let the philosophers come on one Sunday and debate that, but good is that it's productive, that it's leading to the extension of life. It's improving the world around us and ourselves. Bad is that it's doing the opposite. And so, but within bad, we look at bad, if it exists on some level, there must be an inherent good buried in it, a bit like a diamond before it's been mined, or gold before it's been mined. And sometimes we go through those bad periods. If I want to be a little existentialist and expand this, that we should view life sometimes as being a miner. We're in the mines, and we're covered by dust, and it's horrible down there, and the air quality is terrible, but we're extracting gold. Right. And in 20 years or so, when we sit back on the couch, we go, how did I get this couch? How did I get this beautiful home? It's because I worked hard in the mines. And so the negative experiences in life actually have nuggets in them. That doesn't minimize the pain. It doesn't
That's
minimize
a good
the breathing.
analogy.
I'm happy with that. And we live with that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every time we're going through a difficult passage, don't deny. I'm not into the whole righteousness. Well, at least I'm living in a first world. No, pain is pain. Suffering is suffering. When someone is being abused, or when someone is going through pain in Australia, the fact that they're not in starving Africa doesn't make that less painful.
That's right.
So it's about being able to, for oneself, to be able to say, I'm in a mine. And it's very dark, and the air quality is terrible, and I'm choking, and I'm sweating, and I'm being bruised and hurt. But there is a nugget somewhere in here. And it may not be the walls. There is a nugget in here, and down the road I'm going to discover the nugget that was there and how I'm a richer person.
I like that. Can I see your analogy and erase an analogy I heard?
Please.
And it was
this
when
is your show.
I'm
Darren, welcome to my show, please.
No, this is good. I'm loving this. I'm talking to Rabbi Menachem Wolf, and the one I heard, it was when I was giving up the gaspers, right?
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's one of the most addictive drugs apparently in the world, and very hard to knock over. And someone said the best way is to, when you're in the surf, I used to get down to Torquay as a kid and love the surf. Mm. When you get that urge, it's a wave that comes over you, like you're in the surf, and it's going to pound you, and you get in the turbulence of that wave, you get spun around, and it's hurting, and it's no good. But you know what? Then the wave is gone, and it's clear. And it's a bit like the miner, isn't it? Because a tough time can be that wave, but if you can batten down the hatches and know that water is going to pass by you, you'll come up, and there's the sun shining, and your head's above water, and there's no waves coming at you.
I've got a...
Do you like that one?
It's so
I don't think
good.
you do by the look on your face.
No. You've just reminded me. I'll tell you how profound it is.
Yeah.
You've just reminded me that metaphor of the surf is that often we're actually scared of the surf. So not only does it wash over us, but we're actually
scared of it. And the sharks out there.
And you reminded me of a book that I've just read. It's written by a really amazing person, a friend of mine who is, believe it or not, an executive at TikTok. And she wrote this book, and it's about what would you do if you weren't afraid? And of course the surf's going to go over our head. But when you're afraid of it, it's going to, you might not come up. But if you're not afraid of it and you just acknowledge that it's there, the chances of you pulling your head up and getting back on your board and all sorts of things are so much higher.
Yeah.
So it's we have to have some level of overcoming fear in the surf.
Yeah.
Because the surf is there. You can't control
That's
the
right.
weather.
You're
You
not
can't
gonna-
control the body of water.
They're big waves. No, they're going to stay there.
Yeah, and it's that sort of is the addressing the surf, and there's also the addressing the inner fear, and that's what her book was about.
I'm with Rabbi Menachem Wolf. Hey, that was a good one.
That was very good.
Was it?
Yeah, you're basically ready for circumcision.
One slip and the whole world's against you.
That's
But
good.
that's the Jewish do that, don't they?
Yeah, 10% off. No, that's not what we do. I'm just telling you my rates today.
That's outstanding. Hey, Rabbi, an email has arrived. I did an ad for the scallop pies. It says the Jewish faith can't eat scallop pies. They don't do shellfish. Is that true?
That's true, but that shouldn't stop you from advertising.
Why don't you
scallop
do
pie.
shellfish?
We don't do a whole lot of things.
You haven't had a prawn cocktail?
Now it's funny you should ask. when my wife and I were dating, actually it was after when we were engaged. I was back in South Africa and she was here, and for a short amount of time we were apart. And I called her because I was in Cape Town, and there's a lot of seafood in Cape Town. It's
Right.
like, it's all fresh and beautiful. And I said, "What do you reckon prawns are like? Are they crunchy? Like, how much of it gets eaten? What doesn't get eaten?"
Yeah.
So no, we don't eat it. The Jewish tradition has a lot around food, and it's driven by a spiritual narrative of which foods we can and can't eat based on the soul within the food and the way we can or can't connect with it. It's not seen as a dogma for the whole world. It's because Judaism looks at the whole world as being a very holistic environment. And it's interesting because Judaism is one of the only religions that doesn't proselytize. We don't want to convert people.
Right.
We have this fundamental belief that there are many, many nations in this world, just as there are people, there are animals, there are plants, there are inanimate objects. The world is made up of diversity. And without the diversity, the world will be imbalanced. So there are food restrictions and food rules that apply to the Jewish culture. And that's a spiritual view for that. And that's not something that we need to impose on others.
Right.
Let others form their own spirituality relating to food. So yeah, shellfish and a lot of fish, actually. If it doesn't have fins and scales, we don't eat it.
Right.
If it comes out of the ocean.
How about
And so
that?
shellfish are out.
You're one of 7,
Yes.
and you're the black sheep of the family.
Yes. Ironically, I'm from a very observant family.
Say that to me? And they're all over the world.
Yeah. So I'm number 5. I've got brothers in America. I've got siblings that live in Israel. I've got a younger sister that lives here.
What do they all do? If you're a rabbi, what do they do?
Well, I think everyone does different things, but I think the most interesting contrast with the rabbi is my brother in America who had a change in life. He was in the schmatters industry, which is the textiles.
Right.
Schmatters is Yiddish for textiles. He was a T-shirt manufacturer, and that just went all belly up because all manufacturing had moved to China, and he just couldn't compete anymore.
Right.
And so he went into meat pie manufacturing, and he has built a massive expat community across America, making meat pies, sausage rolls. This is a 50-year-old Aussie bloke who wouldn't have known how to cook if his life depended on it.
Yeah.
And now he is doing not just that, does vanilla slices, lamingtons, hot cross buns. I know, yeah, a Jewish guy doing hot cross buns, whatever. And they're unbelievable. That's the feedback. He's got a very irreverent sense of humour. It's built very much on stereotypical Aussie nostalgia, and he drives across America selling his pies. He actually every Sunday, though, this is a very interesting thing because where his little factory is, it's all him and a few workers, is in downtown LA where there's Skid Row.
Oh,
which is
yeah,
where-
that's a dangerous part of the world, downtown LA.
and he was ashamed of what's going on there. He's like, where's the government? You've got 8,500 homeless people. So every Sunday he distributes hundreds and hundreds of pies and sausages, kicks a Sharon around with them. He loves it. Gets them
In
going, go
downtown
pies,
LA.
go pies. They wouldn't know what the pies are. But yeah, he does that, hands out sanitary. He says, like, I can't be here manufacturing food surrounded by homelessness and starvation. And so there's a large percentage of all his pies and sausages are just distributed with rosella. He's very into using Aussie tomato sauce. And he imports VB, or imports. He gets my mum to send it over to him. And he'll give it out. So he's like, when you think about, there's the rabbi in the family, then there's the meat pie manufacturer in the family.
The pie man.
The pie man.
Yeah.
Aussie, and yeah, I'll give him a plug. Aussie pies and sausages. That doesn't matter in Australia.
Yeah.
But that's coming from a place of goodwill. He had to reinvent himself. Life was really tough, and he decided to go into his passion. And there's a massive percentage that goes to charity every week, not by giving money to a foundation, but just distributing food at the coalface. And it's pretty dangerous because homelessness is no longer just homelessness. There's a lot of mental health. There's a lot of drugs. There's a lot of violence. I've got another brother in LA who's a glazier.
Yeah.
And he always says that our older brother, Yaakov, is his name, JJ, is nuts because there's so much danger. He had his phone stolen from him while he was distributing. He's been mugged and everything.
Gee.
And my brother, Moish, was like, our oldest brother's nuts because he's just got no fear. And there's a lot of fear holding people back from doing good in that part of the world because it is dangerous. But he says, if my factory is here producing food, how am I not producing food for the locals as well?
Yes. Good on him.
Yeah.
I'm talking to Rabbi Menachem Wolf at 9:45. I'm with Rabbi Menachem Wolf. Rabbi, I need to talk to you about God.
Oh, dear. Sunday morning.
Oh, yeah, this isn't your peak time, is it? Saturdays is your main
That's
gig.
right. I'm on holiday this morning.
I grew up as an Anglican. I was a server at St. Peter's. Service was one of those, wore the cassock, and I used to treat it like a Broadway show because I wasn't that religious, but it was good to dress up and hand Father... not the priest, because we called them the vicar, the wine and the bread, and then you'd swan across the altar and, you'd flounce around. I used to treat it like as a showbiz thing. Yeah. But then as I get older, I think, well, am I religious? And what am I? I don't know. If I feel out of form, do I put no religion? Because is there a God? I don't know. But my philosophy is just everyone, just you treat people the way you would like to be treated. And try and be kind. And I don't know, is there a God? Do you believe in the afterlife? Would we come back as so many questions, Rabbi? What's happening to me?
Darren, you're too young for these sorts of questions.
What do you believe?
So it's interesting you said, you asked about yourself, are you religious? Because I asked myself the same question, and that's not me being cute and approachable. Because I'm not keen on dogmatic theology. And I know that Judaism, as a Judeo-Christian, one of those big religions that seems very theological and dogmatic, I can't define God, but I can talk about what God isn't and what God is in that context. Think of everything as being one.
Right.
So just as the human body is made up of many parts, but the nervous system links everything, so think of the world as being, and not just the planet Earth, the entire solar system, the entire physical universe, as being a single entity with a nervous system running through it, a consciousness,
right.
Like the brain connects with every part of the body.
Yeah.
And the entire world has this soul system, no different to a nervous system, no different to a vibe, a life, a vibrance. And then it exists within a greater consciousness. And when we talk about God in Judaism, it's that sort of infinite consciousness that animates and imbues everything with life and allows nature to be nature. So it's interesting, the Hebrew word for nature is hateva. And that has the same numerical value as one of the names of God when reading the Torah, the Bible, which is Elohim. And so that sort of numerical connection has a fantastic lesson, which is that it's not that you have nature and God, but rather nature is the revelation that there is an incredible consciousness, a great creator that lies behind it all. So the more cosmology we study, the more physics we study, the more chemistry we study, the more beautiful we discover the world is. And that is what God is showing us. So people are extensions and expressions, as much as animals and plants and inanimate objects are extensions of God. We're all a part of this infinite reality. And each one of us is sacred, each one of us is holy, each one of us is special. Whichever you want to use religious terminology, do that. If you want to use secular terminology, it's like each one of us is unique and individual and special. And each one of us has a purpose. There's no redundancy in this world. No person is redundant. No speck of dust. You look at how the world is and the ecosystem that we live within. Everything is required, and it's a beautiful balance. And you just sit back and go, "Wow, how beautiful is this?"
Yeah. I look, I've got to say, I'm fortunate because I love life. I very rarely get down, if that's an expression.
No, I can believe that about you.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
But I think that is the philosophy. If you can find good in most things, if what you've got to do is, I don't want to do that, but you look at it and you think, it's the wave again. I'll just do what I've got to do, and that wave will pass.
And if you dislike someone, it's like disliking your own finger or your own toe, and just saying, "Oh, I've got 10 of them. That one sucks. I don't need it."
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, at what point do we say, "No, Menachem, don't be silly. That's the human body." But people, that's at what point that's obnoxious to say, "No, this matters and that doesn't." Everything is sacred.
Yeah.
And love, as you described earlier, that kindness, don't do unto others what you wouldn't want done to yourself, is the fundamental. And if you struggle to love something else, just go back to that body metaphor, the ecosystem, and say, "Hey, without ants, this whole planet would fall apart."
Yeah.
You know, without anything, the planet would fall apart. So we're all important.
I can't believe we're always there. We haven't even touched the surface, but I'm going to save the next bit to, it's the end. We're going to find out what Kylie Minogue's really like and how much the rabbi does love Collingwood.
If you've had a fracture since turning 50, you could have osteoporosis, the big O. It's serious, but it's also treatable. Ask your doctor about a bone density scan today and say no to the big O.
A disease education message from Amgen Australia.
I'm with Rabbi Menachem Wolf, and we're almost there. You've brought your horn in. What is the horn about?
So the shofar is a horn that gets blown for a month before the Jewish New Year, which is coming up, Rosh Hashanah. And it's a call of awakening. It's very much the expression of the soul coming through, and the horn is it's a ram's horn, and it's very much like we all have these animal instincts, we all have these impulsive behaviors, but deeper than that is something very spiritual and very pure, our soul. And the horn is about just as when you blow that silent air through the horn, it emits a beautiful sound. So too, when we live life and put the silent thing that is life through the animal that we are, you create something quite remarkable. So we blow that for a month leading into the Jewish New Year, which becomes a time of introspection and growth and all that. You know, not very New Year style. There's not much drinking that day. And I can blow the horn on air. I blew it at the Michael Gudinski Memorial.
Blow the horn.
I'll blow the horn.
Blow the horn. Wow. Rabbi Menachem Wolf, there's the horn. We've got 30 seconds. What's Kylie really like? Outstanding. Ed Sheeran?
From my limited experience with them, very, very kind. They tried to drag me out on stage and just did it in a way that made me feel very, very, when's the last time a rabbi said, "Yeah, Kylie grabbed my arm and tried to pull me on stage"? I said to Ed, "I don't know the words to the song." He goes, "Neither do I. Just take a tambourine and play along."
Menachem Wolf, a real live rabbi. Thanks for spending an hour with us, and we'll hopefully catch up.
Darren, thank you for having me, and have a great day to all the listeners, and a happy week.
Good on you. It's approaching 10 o'clock here on 3AW.
Talking Melbourne.